Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the You Are Worthy Network. So good to be with you again today. I'm excited to introduce my guest to you today. But before we do, just in case you're tuning in, maybe for the very first time, because that happens quite a bit, and I do want to take a second to acknowledge all of you that have helped the group grow as it topped over 15,000 people a couple of days ago. And I certainly want to thank God for doing the heavy lifting and making that happen for sure. But you might be asking yourself, if it's the first time you've tuned into an interview, what is the You Are Worthy Network? What's that all about? Well, I'll try to keep it short. I am a preacher, so no promises. But really, the You Are Worthy Network was created out of my own stinking mindset. I have done some serious, deep mindset work the last 2 years, and this word unworthy kept popping up. And I knew it wasn't true. The problem was, I knew it wasn't true here. I hadn't gotten it here where it really mattered. And so, as I started to have more and more victories, because I knew it wasn't true, I knew I'd been buying the lie. And I could help other people with it, but I was struggling with my own mindset. But as I started to have victories, I said, I got to do something to help all those many people that are struggling with limited thinking, imposter syndrome, lack of self worth, that whole family of thinking, right? And so I created this as a way to give back. And what I do is I interview incredible people. We talk about their successes, their highlights, what they're doing in the world to serve other people. But you know what? We also talk about what they've overcome. We also talk about periods in their life where they didn't feel worthy of love, respect, and success. So that's the Cliff Notes version of what the You Are Worthy Network is, because who doesn't in this world need a shot of hope, a shot of encouragement? And that's what we look to do every time we have an interview for 45, 50 minutes thereabouts. So that's what you're going to hear today. And I'm excited to introduce you to my guest. And you're going to find that she's compassionate, she's talented, and she's wise. At least those three, if not more. But those are the three that come to my mind right away. Marketing with heart, strategy, and soul. That's not just a tagline. It's how Tara, did I say that right? Is it Tara?
Sure did. Yep.
I
Tara.
did say it. Tara Lee Felix has built her business, shown up for her family, and helped hundreds of heart focused business owners finally feel like themselves in their marketing. Tara's a lot of things: founder of Created Social, business coach, instructor at the Author Conservatory, hybrid homeschooling mom of not three, not four, but five, two graduates down, three to go, wife of 26 years, youth leader, coach, curriculum writer for 500 plus students every week. The teens haven't revolted yet, she said, so she's calling that a win. Absolutely. She knows what it means to wear every hat and still show up fully. And it's not new to her. She's been online for over a decade, created thousands of pieces of high converting content, and held one conviction that's never changed. You should never have to lose yourself to be seen. She's built her business this way on purpose, and she'll show you how to do the same. Authentic marketing that serves, a strategy that connects, and a voice that stays yours. Oh my goodness, I love it all. We're going to confuse people here for just a second, but Lee, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So excited to be here.
You do want to be called Lee, right?
Sure can. Yes. So the funny thing about that is that my name is Tara Lee Felix. And over a decade ago, when I started online, I thought, let's not confuse people instead of the Tara thing. Let's just use my middle name. Well, that worked for a while. And then I ended up confusing people a bit more because I brought my first name back into it. So I'm known by Tara, I'm known by Lee, and I'm known as Tara Lee Felix. So I always say I'll answer to any.
Well, I want to get it right for today, though. So, what's your preference?
Yep, you can call me Lee.
Okay. Okay. So as I often say, Lee, one of the amazing things about having a group that's grown like it has is I never want to assume people think that everybody's from the United States because I'm starting to notice that people are watching from different parts of the world, which is really, really cool. But I know for a fact you're in the States. Tell us what part of the world you're coming from.
Yes, I'm in Wisconsin. So
Have you thawed out as June 1st? Maybe you're starting to thaw out.
that's a fantastic question. Yes, we are starting to thaw out. Exactly. I grew up in Wisconsin, and then we spent a couple of years in California, about 8 years in Louisville, Kentucky, which was much closer to the weather that you have for the winters. I loved that, but then we came back here, and now I'm thawing out when it comes to be June. So hanging in there. We've got sunshine though, and some really beautiful weather, so we will take it.
There's room in the South. We'll let you in.
Yeah,
There is a test we
it's
give,
tempting.
but I mean, you know.
It's very tempting, trust me. We've had that discussion many times. Uh,
Yeah. So when you say we, tell us about your husband and tell us about the family.
yes, so I've been married to my husband for 26 years. We have 5 kids, as noted there, and we're in a super fun season right now. Everybody just had birthdays, and then they shift back to where I can actually remember and not feel like a terrible mom when I go to the doctor and they're asking me to list all the birthdays. So we have a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, and then an 11-year-old. So that's the season that we're in. Spans across a lot there, but it has just been the biggest joy of my life. So
That is awesome. That's probably all awesome except for the grocery bill.
exactly, yes, the grocery bill is terrifying. I will, I will say that. Although
How,
most of them are girls, but my one son gives us a run for the money. So
yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say I've got three. One's out of the house, and she's the girl. I still have the two boys in the house, so
Oh boy,
I totally get it.
I bet you do.
Yeah. So what do you guys like to do for a fun as a family?
Mm. It's definitely adapted and changed over the years. I mean, we love travel, so we love exploring. We've lived lots of places, taken lots of road trips, done a lot that way. My husband and my son just went to Budapest this year, so that was
Wow.
a really cool experience that they were blessed to be able to do together. But really, we just like being together. I don't take it for granted that my kids a very very solid relationships, and that as a family, we just like to be together. So whatever it is that they're doing is usually what I'm doing for fun, or we're doing for fun. So right now it includes a whole lot of basketball because my son's in club sports and summer league and all sorts of stuff. So
Okay, so let me make an addition to what I said. Everything is fun except for the food bill and the gas bill at
that's
this
true.
point.
That is true as well.
I
It is
promise we won't keep finding things as we go, but those were the two
yeah,
obvious things.
that's okay. It's real, that's for sure.
It is real. So before we dig into the many hats that you wear, let's go back to a time and place where you didn't likely wear nearly as many hats. Specifically, I want to take you back to your senior year in high school. And even more specific than that, I want to take you when you're towards the very end. You've got 2 weeks left, and you've got the cap, you've got the gown, maybe you have a class ring. Certainly, I would imagine you're Xing off the days as each one gets closer. You got the big day circled. Um, what's the mindset? Is it senioritis to the max? You've already got a job. You're going to keep that job through the summer. You know where you're going to go to school in the fall, or maybe something else. Um, just done. ready for what's next. The world is yours. Is it that mindset, or is it, I guess I better get a job? I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to miss this place. And there's no right or wrong answer. Or are you somewhere in between? Because as we know, 17, 18-year-olds can be all over the place. Where were you at this point in time in life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's actually a great way to start off because part of the thing that intrigued me about what it is that you do is that that unworthy word that strikes you so much, and that idea of not being enough. And my whole childhood, that's was my theme. It was unworthy. It was not enough. Um, Led to some really awful decisions in high school. So by the time that I was ready to graduate, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew that I was going to be working over the summer. I had a job. I wasn't sure about school. I thought I was probably going to take some business classes at a local tech college, which I did end up doing. But I met my husband. I graduated when I was 17. I'm a summer birthday. So I was
Mhm.
almost 18. Met my husband at that time. And pretty quickly, I just was ready to leave everything behind and kind of start over because, well, I kind of was ready to start over, but I didn't realize that that mindset that you're talking about, that carries with you unless you do some work on it. So I
Yep.
thought I was ready to start over and had found this incredible man and move forward, but it wasn't until many years later that I processed and did a lot of work, and God did a lot of healing in order to be able to get to a proper mindset to actually move on. So yeah, I was not in a great place, but I was in a more hopeful place than I had been. I knew I was going to work, and I signed up for some business classes at the local tech college, and that's about all that I knew at that time.
So that's fascinating that right out the gate, as we're talking about your younger years, if I heard you right, you say you carried unworthiness with you into graduation. So that was happening for a while. Was there something specific that led to that, or was it circumstances surrounding the household? You feel free to tell us as much or little as you'd like.
Yeah. Um, I do like to be transparent. I mean, I want to start off with the fact that everybody in my family did, absolutely the best that they can with what was given, but it was a combination of, um, I think it was a combination of circumstances and then my own ways of coping, not feeling like I could ever truly be myself, not feeling like my voice mattered. And so I began to just stuff things as I was little and kept stuffing and stuffing. And that turned to some really toxic choices in high school. And I never fully understood how to actually process through that. And so it was kind of a combination of those things.
Okay, I got you. So you met your husband, what, you said 17, 18 years old?
Yeah, I was almost 18. Yeah.
So how long did y'all date before you got married?
Got married when I was 20. So yeah.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, a couple years. I was like, I can't even, it's bad.
It does
The
take you
memory.
back, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I'm like, oh my goodness, the memory is goes quicker than you'd like. But yes, I was 20.
So tell us about that. So you're married at 20. You've got five kids. You said the oldest is how old?
The oldest is 20. Yeah. So in the
Okay.
beginning, we both two things happened. We both wanted to, travel and spend some time with just us. Actually, when we first got married, we sold everything that we had and decided that we would go to Australia and backpack for a couple of months. And so that was kind of the honeymoon, but that was also um, what we wanted to do. And so we had some time together. But then when we had decided that we wanted to try to have kids, it took a couple of years. I had a really hard time getting pregnant with the first one and then the last one, the gap that I have at the end. So we got double there. But Um, so yeah, that was a solid amount of time as far as us goes, traveling and getting to know each other. We did some, we did an outreach program at our old church, an evangelist program just to help to learn how to share the gospel. We were just really trying to figure out what it is that we're supposed to be doing here and like what that looked like, which actually has a really interesting connection to where I ended up, but I'm sure that we'll get there.
Well, I am interested. So was it ministry shortly after starting the family, or did that come later? Like, give us the timeline
Yeah.
of. I'm assuming ministry came before marketing, but maybe I'm wrong.
It did. Ministry came before marketing. I actually, when we left, so we were living in Wisconsin and our old church was in California, and we had wanted to do this program that they had there for a while. And God worked it out where we were able to rent out our house and temporarily go to California. And that's when I found out that I was actually pregnant with my first daughter, was when we were out there. So that was definitely not expected. But then that was the beginning, I guess. We still had no idea, even afterwards, what God was calling us to. And so, kind of shifted gears back to just working and um, just life, and then obviously having a brand new baby and all that entails. So it was kind of this bounce back and forth, I guess, in the beginning, trying to get our footing and really figure it out. So
So you and your husband both did youth ministry together?
not youth ministry. Nope. He didn't. I've been the only one in youth ministry. And what had happened out there is part of this, which I appreciate, what you had shared about your story and just how God has used this to, serve others and bless others. And coming from where he had you, when I was out there at that school of evangelism, we had processed through a lot. We had to process through a lot of our past and kind of what that meant. And we had dared to dream into the future and what God might have for us. And so I have a journal entry from back then, so 20 some years ago, where I was to write down like different things that I was passionate about or different things that I thought maybe I would step into someday, that maybe God was calling me to. And I wrote down, helping the youth, especially girls that never felt like they had someone so that they didn't end up in places where I did all those years later. And it still brings me to tears every time. I just graduated my second group of girls. And it just astounds me. It astounds me that I have the privilege of being able to show up and serve and to support them and to really truly do that, to help them through some of the hardest times in high school and whatnot. And whether they're walking the path that I walked or not, I'm able to support them and point them back to what really matters and to tell them that they are worthy and that they do have value and that God is not done with them at all. So that has been a really cool bridge to see over 20 years. And the reason why I'm passionate about it. They can't get rid of me. So
So you're still doing this. You're
I
still
am
doing this and through
every
your local
Wednesday.
church.
Yep. Yes. And I'm
Uh,
beyond blessed by we live in a small place. It's not a large city by any means. And so um our church has just been so phenomenal for our family moving back here and just being able to serve others through that. We have really about 500 kids every Wednesday, 6th through 12th grade, from churches all over that come. And they get to, whether we have large group or small group or whatever we're doing, we get to connect and they get to hear God's word and be supported by small group leaders that really truly love them and want to see them succeed. So
500
yeah,
every Wednesday.
every Wednesday. Yep.
And
Not
you're
that
in the middle, like they're coming from how far?
they're coming from, well, I would say within about 30 minutes usually. But yeah, there's all sorts of different churches represented. It's just been such a cool thing to see and be a part of.
That's incredible.
It is, it is truly. It's something special. I don't want to ever lose sight of that.
I love that. I love that. So how do you balance being a wife, being a mom of five, pouring your heart into all these other kids? I understand it may be only on the schedule Wednesday night, but when we're dealing with kids that age, that can be phone calls unexpectedly or all that can go into that. But where does marketing fit in?
Great question. Back again when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was actually managing a salon and spa here, and wasn't again really sure. I knew that I at that point was just so excited to be a mom and had her. And for about 6 months, she was 6 months old. My husband and I worked opposite shifts, and took care of her and whatnot. And it was crushing me. It was just crushing me. I knew for me that God was calling me to be at home and to be able to be with her, and
Mm.
eventually the other ones as well. But I had this, well, two things. We had a financial need, which is very real and very tangible. And then I also had this deep desire to build and to serve, and I didn't know what to do with it. And so I started off with the financial piece, and I started, this is 20 years ago. We're talking, this is online working from home was not a normal thing. And it was not something that you could really do very easily. Now, there were different companies that started hiring for remote roles and things like that. So I went through some different things there, worked for a few different companies, doing some like admin, slightly getting into some marketing. And I was like just determined because I wanted to be home with her. And so at that point, I was full of uncertainty. All of the feelings of the unworthiness and the not enough came back up. And I felt like I was going to end up failing in both roles as a mom and as a business owner. And I didn't have this solid, I had this solid calling, the solid desire, but it was buried beneath all of that. So it just felt more like just imposter syndrome. I would show up, but every time I did, I felt completely fake and completely like everybody's going to find me out. And it went on for a while. We had more kids after that. I was still working for a company doing like claims. And then I started like an eBay store, and that started taking off back in the day. And so that was really my first step into the entrepreneurial world, and really trying to understand, okay, well, I have this desire to be an entrepreneur and business owner. I want to be here for my kids. Homeschooling wasn't even the picture at that time, but I didn't even think that was going to be ever in the picture. Side note. But knew I had to try to figure out this marketing thing. And so from that, it started growing, and I started believing a little bit more that I had something to offer. I started to understand a little bit more of the way that God created me, which is an encourager, which is a gift. And I didn't even know that at the time. I felt like a fraud, even when I knew, like, I genuinely wanted to encourage people. I would see something, I would point it out, I would say it, and then immediately I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to think that I am a complete fraud. Like, they're probably thinking that I'm looking for things to make up. I overthought everything. And so that mindset, all the way from childhood, had carried through, came back, and at times, I mean, it went down a little bit, came back more fiercely, and it shifted. But finally, I had this grand idea that I was going to become a mom blogger. And I was like, well, maybe that's, how do I start a blog as a business? And learned everything I possibly could, because I didn't have a marketing degree. Because that was always an underlying, especially in our generation, I feel like was always an underlying kind of shame point. Like, oh, if you didn't finish and get your degree, you're not worthy. I mean, there's no way you can possibly know what you need to know if you didn't get a degree. Now, I'm not knocking getting a degree. It's awesome. And for some people, I mean, obviously for some it's needed, and for some people it does show them what they need. But for me, it was just this thing that kept pressing me down. So I just learned and learned and took all the courses. And then I started noticing people were asking me for help with things. And how did you do that? And oh, can you help me with that? And naturally became more of like a VA business. I started assisting people with their online businesses. I was very familiar with the space, much more familiar with marketing. And so I started stepping into that world way back then. But I still was a mom and I still felt a whole lot of I can only succeed in one or the other. And I was desperately trying to believe that what God had called me to being a mom and called me to being a business owner could happily coincide. Not perfectly, because I don't believe that, but could happily coincide and that there was purpose in both. And so for me, it was the rest of the journey that he's taken me on to help me get to a place of understanding that. Still not doing it perfectly though.
So you have all those different feelings now being a business owner from home after trying some different things. And then somewhere along the line, you say, oh, well, let's try to do homeschooling too.
Oh yeah. Yes, so that actually came from Kentucky. We moved down in Kentucky. We had no idea. We had just been there a few different times and really wanted to get away from those winters. So that's what we would do. We would leave in the winter, go down to Louisville, and we realized that we fell in love with the city, and it was a family friendly city, and there was just so much there. I was working, remotely. My husband was able to get a position down there, and so we moved into this apartment complex, not knowing really what it was about or what kind of people are there, not realizing that it was actually right next to the Southern Seminary and a whole bunch of seminary families and a whole bunch of families that homeschooled. So here I'm like dropped right in the middle. My daughter's about to start kindergarten, and I thought, there is no way I can't even homeschool kindergarten, which was a complete lie. But I didn't know that at the time. And I literally had someone come to my back door on my porch and say, hey, I heard that you're starting kindergarten. If you want some of these homeschool books, we're done with them. And here you go. Okay, maybe I
Mm.
need to listen. So then it became something to pray through and step into. And it has been just one of the biggest joys of my life. That being said, each of my kids are different. And there's been times or seasons where all of them have homeschooled. Some have homeschooled, gone to a private school. It's just all over the place. And so we have had a lot of different situations with our kids that required some extra care in how we were going to approach their education. And so I always said, like, there's no guarantee. Every year I'm praying and seeing what it is that God wants me to do with that. And so right now, as we have it, 2 graduated homeschool. One is an online school. So, I mean, you can classify that as homeschool. And then one is at a private school and the other one is homeschool. So we're all over the place, but I'm happy with that because it's individual and it meets their needs. And that's what my goal is. So,
Yeah. No, that's awesome. My wife has homeschooled our kids. Well, my middle child just graduated 3 weeks ago, and then so we've got one left. That'll be a sophomore. And people say all the time about how awesome it is that we homeschooled. First of all, I'm like, she did 99% of it. I just played principal once in a while when needed to give her backup. But you guys at homeschool, just amazing. And don't even get me on my soapbox about socialization and all that, because those opportunities are aplenty if mom and dad are intentional about it, and I know you probably are. So anyway, um so let's transition to your clientele a little bit. I'm sure there's several ways that you help them, but tell us one of your favorite ways to serve them.
one of my favorite ways is their messaging, meaning the words essentially that they're using. Well, it's also tied together. You're really going to make me pick one of my favorite, but it is. Their messaging is usually the thing that people pay the least attention to, but can be the most impactful. Because if you're not able to clearly put out what it is that you do and who you serve, you may have the best product or the best service or whatever you're offering can be incredible, but they just are going to skim past. And so really helping people get from out here down to a very clear picture of what it is that they're offering. And then that comes with, writing and emails and design. And I mean, I love all of it. I really love the strategy behind the marketing. And for me, part of that strategy is the marketing with heart, strategy, and soul. It is an all-encompassing thing. I've had so many business owners come to me because it's hard to market our own stuff, right? It feels weirdly inauthentic for a lot of people. And marketing has this whole slimy feel to it, depending upon who you pay attention to. And a lot of people have that in their mind ahead of time. And so they may be trying to do the things that everyone's telling them to do with the hustle and the algorithms and the, post a bazillion times a day and whatnot, or they just don't want to show up at all. And so wherever they are, I love to bring just the insight of getting them back to authentic. Like, what are they called to do? What is the message that they have? Who are they really helping? And then how to show up sustainably, because that's one of the biggest challenges for people, is to have a sustainable marketing strategy where you're not feeling like everything's pulling at you and now you have to go post or now you have to go do this. So that was a really long answer of a whole bunch of things, but I told you, it's all interwoven. I love it all.
Now, does that start from a place of copywriting, or is that oversimplification?
No, essentially it starts from a place of copywriting. Your words are super important. I am a certified conversion copywriter. And so conversion copywriting is just that idea of the why behind the copywriting, the psychology, the understanding, the principles in that. And so that's kind of the difference between writing and copywriting and conversion copywriting. But writing has been my thing forever because that's how my mom blog started. And then I just was helping people with ghostwriting and whatnot. And then I started to really understand, the psychology behind this is really cool. And if I want to help someone, if someone has a solid service or product and I want to help them get to their next step by serving them with that next step very clearly, I need to be able to communicate that in the writing. And there are certain things to pay attention to, because obviously everybody is really overloaded and overwhelmed, and their inboxes are very full and their social media notifications are going off. And so how can we do that in a way with our writing that utilizes some of those principles behind it? And so that is really a big part of what I do, is the writing and the copywriting. But it is different. I mean, I also work with a lot of authors through the Author Conservatory. I'm a business coach and instructor there. And that's a college alternative program for aspiring writers who also are learning how to start and run a business and do their own marketing. Because if you're going to be a published author, a lot of times you are going to need to know how to do your marketing. And so I have been able to come alongside with incredible faculty and whatnot in the conservatory and help them to understand marketing and marketing as a service and marketing authentically as they grow, start businesses, become published authors, and step out into the world. So that too has been very fulfilling and stemmed from all of that. But they're used to a whole different kind of writing as authors than copywriting or conversion copywriting. So it's an interest, of course, to me, because I'm a word nerd, but it's an interesting it's an interesting shift between just writing and writing for marketing.
I don't want to leave this topic for long, but I had a thought as you were explaining that. Have you ever put your feet into the ghostwriting arena?
I have somewhat. Yep, I have somewhat over the years.
Okay.
I have not fully gone into the ghostwriting. It was more of a natural path to help with authors, coaches, and those are prime, and then bloggers as well, because I knew them. But yeah, I have done a little bit of ghostwriting, but I have some friends that are pretty serious about it. So
Okay, okay. I would imagine, tell me if this is accurate because it may not be. I would imagine that a lot of folks that come to you are have been kicking the can down the road for a while and frustrated at the results or lack of. And a lot of that is centered around marketing. Um, I can relate. I'm sitting here thinking as I'm listening to you, oh, I wish I would have met her sooner. But again, time, God's timing's perfect, of course. Um, would that be accurate? That is, it's usually the entrepreneur that's been testing several things, frustrated with the results, realizing marketing is a central piece to it, and then they come to you for help. Would that be fair?
that is fair. That is fair. I would say that's definitely how I started out. As I've grown over the years, there is definitely that level of frustration, or just unsatisfied with what they've been trying. That's definitely still there too. But I would say that probably mostly in the beginning, those were all the clients that I was serving up for a while.
So let's have a little fun here. I want you to play a little game with me because I know
Okay.
you would not do this on your own. Let's take a sampling of your clientele over the years.
Okay.
And if you could describe them pertaining to where they are in this process, they're entrepreneurs, they're trying to thrust their business to the next level. Um, they come to you for help in that specific area, and using just three words. This
Hmm.
won't be easy, but you'll see the benefit of it as we go. What would you say your clientele using those three words are experiencing when they contact you?
Overwhelm, uncertainty, and frustration.
I was pretty sure you were going to use that one. Okay, overwhelmed, uncertainty, and frustrated.
Mhm.
All right. Now this part may be harder because you're humble. I know you are. Um, After working with you and seeing the results that they've been able to get working with you, what would be the three new words?
Hmm. Well, one that makes me super excited is confident. I love seeing their confidence grow. Um, hmm, Clarity and impact.
So let's look at that. If you work with Lee, you will go from overwhelmed to clarity, uncertainty to confidence, from frustrated to impact. See, I see God in that,
Mm-hmm.
but he's using you as a vessel.
Which I
He
still
did
have a hard time wrapping my brain around, right? It's crazy.
it's he does
Mhm.
the heavy lifting,
He does.
but he has skilled you and given you talents in this area that allows you to help in that way. But I did this exercise as simple as it is. It does make you think to reduce your words down to,
Yeah.
especially I would imagine for a wordsmith like yourself. But it not only shows the power of God, it shows the quality of the work you're doing. And I wanted you to see that, but I wanted people that are watching that may be frustrated, overwhelmed or uncertain in their own business marketing to hear that. So I appreciate you playing along with me for that. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Tell folks where they can find you and learn more about you and the amazing work that you're doing.
Sure. Created Social is my website. So on there, you can find pretty much anything that you would need to know about me. I also still have my mom blog. If you're just looking for some encouragement or parenting encouragement, that's likemindedmusings.com. But those are probably the two best places. It hosts everything that you can to connect with me there.
And I believe you gave me both of those, right?
I think I did. I think I did.
When I go to upload it, I'll make sure I'll check with you. But what Lee just shared, we'll make sure that's in the show notes. What last words would you leave the viewers with? What words of encouragement? We would I would imagine somebody that joins You Are Worthy Network. There's something about that phrase that hits deeper. And I think that's why the group's growing is they want to hear something positive. They want to hear something encouraging. There's enough you can turn on the local news, the national news. There's enough and we can't run from it. We got to be aware of it. But I get to be an encourager like you are. How would you encourage those that it took all they could to get out of bed today and go to work on this Monday?
Yeah. I want to say, first of all, that you're not alone, that there are so many people out there that are just like you and trying to make those choices day in and day out, just like you, and tired of fighting, maybe like you are feeling. I love the opportunity to come on here and share all of the incredible things that God has done in my life, but without the struggles that we've been through, being vast, whether it's, like I said, the infertility piece or just financial struggles, or being that we have dealt with a whole lot of mental illness in our family. And my oldest daughter, has chronic illness. And so that is also a daily choice. Like, it has been a struggle, but it is worth it to get up and keep going and to surround yourself with people that will cheerlead you and encourage you on. I would not be where I am today if I didn't have the support of, other people, whether it was in motherhood and they were just a bit ahead of me, helping to check my perspective as I was going, or in business, others to support. And online has been a fantastic support for me to be able to build real relationships where I've then met them in person, and we're still connected. I have some friends that have been this whole time, over 10 to 15 years. And so just not to lose sight of the hope that is available to us, even when it feels hopeless. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing. I'm always about the authenticity in it. And I love sharing what God's done. And those look like wins, but I'm always the first one to throw myself under the bus and be honest, because there's been a whole lot of heart that we have come from and that I've come from. And if I didn't acknowledge that, then it wouldn't be quite as sweet where I'm at right now. So that's all him. That's not me, but it's a whole lot of support from Worthy Network and people that are there to support you along the way.
I appreciate you sharing that, Lee. You've been a great example of why I created the network. I knew when I started having these interviews with people that are successful in the entrepreneur space that I couldn't. I mean, and it's awesome. It's awesome highlighting what they've done well because we need that kind of inspiration too. Like, hey, so and so did it. So and so overcame this. I can do it too. But it's also needing stories of inspiration of what people have overcome, what people are still dealing with, and people willing to come on here and be vulnerable with that, which you certainly have. That's why I created this. because we all need some hope to sustain us for a little bit longer. And I just shared with our church yesterday. We talked about remaining close to the vine. It's our series all year, but remaining when you're weary. And we don't like to talk about being weary. We don't like to admit it. We don't like to be open about it. We don't like to feel it. But Paul didn't say, "Oh, here I go on my preaching soapbox again." I'll try to close it down quick. Paul didn't say not to be weary. He said, "Do not be weary in doing good." And we're going to have battles of weariness. And it actually means you're still in a fight. You still care. You're still involved. You haven't walked away. You haven't surrendered yet. So, um, Lee, I just want to thank you for being sharing your compassion, uh, obviously for those young girls, but it comes shining through about your family, about your own children, about your clients. It's just who you are. I can see it. So I want to thank you for being you and sharing some moments of gold with us today and being real. And just thank you for saying yes and being my guest today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's incredible, and it's more things like this that we need to have. I mean, that's people want to see real. They want to be encouraged by, like you said, authenticity and people being real. So I think it's super important the work that you're doing here. So thank you for allowing me to be a small part of it.
I appreciate that. I want to leave you guys today. It won't be anything new unless you're new watching, but I have the honor to be able to remind you that you are worthy. You're worthy of love, respect, and success. And sometimes I leave it there. And sometimes I tell you why. And I'm going to tell you why today. Paul said, "No one is good. No, not one." And he's referring to the sinful nature, right? So that's all of us. But our creator looked down and said, "These guys aren't going to make it. They're just not going to make it. And I'm frustrated with them." But this shows you how patient God is. He looked over at Jesus and said, "You're the only way. You're the only way they're going to make it." I'm giving you the short Steve version. And Jesus went down and lived 33 years on planet Earth, sin free. And he could have said no to all the abuse, physical, mental, emotional, that he endured along the way. And he took our place on the cross. The blood makes us worthy. His sacrifice is the only thing that makes us worthy. And if you're in a season of challenges, of disappointment, of doubt, of feelings of unworthiness, inadequate feelings of yourself, well, I want to remind you it won't last forever. And when you reach the mountaintop, that won't last forever either, because life is in the middle a lot, right? But I want to remind you, if you're in that season I just described, it's a chapter in your book. It's not the whole book. There are better chapters waiting to be written. That's why you don't give up. So don't give up. It's just a chapter. We want to see your whole book written because it's going to have exciting things in it to come. So, anyway, your story's not over yet. You're worthy. I appreciate each one of you. Till next time, God bless.